Okay, so let's unpack this. We are looking at a book today that is, well, it's arguably the granddaddy of them all.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, if you've ever read a self-help book or been to a sales seminar or even just scrolled past a quote on Instagram about manifesting, you're looking at the downstream effects of this one book.
That is so true. We are talking about Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. And I think it's important to set the stage right away. This isn't just some guy, writing a fluffy book about saving money on coffee.
Not at all.
This thing was born from a massive 20-year research project.
Right, and it wasn't a hobby project. It was basically a commission from Andrew Carnegie, who, let's just remind everyone, was the richest man on the planet at the time.
The richest man, yeah.
And he basically tossed this idea to Hill and said, look, I think there's a formula for success. Go see if you can prove it.
Exactly. He called it a magic formula, though he didn't give it a name. He just believed that if you looked at the most successful people, we're talking Thomas Edison, Henry Ford, Rockefeller, all the titans,
The big ones.
you'd find a common denominator.
Yeah.
So Hill spent the next 2 decades analyzing over 500 of them to, pull this philosophy out.
Which is just an insane amount of work. Imagine doing 500 case studies before you even write chapter 1.
It's why it stood the test of time, really. It's data-driven in its own way.
So let's get into it. The core premise is, it's so simple it's almost deceptive. The phrase that pays, thoughts are things.
That is the anchor of the whole book. Thoughts are things.
Yeah.
Hill's whole argument is that success, any kind of success, it doesn't start with hard labor or capital or luck. It starts with a state of mind.
Okay, I have to play devil's advocate here for a second, because thoughts are things sounds great on a bumper sticker, but for a lot of people, that's where the skepticism creeps in. I'm thinking about a Ferrari, but it's not in my driveway. It feels a bit woo-woo.
And that's a fair critique if you just stop at the surface.
Yeah.
Hill isn't saying wishing makes it so. He's saying that a thought, when it's magnetized with a specific level of emotion and purpose, it transmutes into reality through action. It's a psychological process, not a magic trick. And that's what we're going to unpack here. Exactly how you bridge that gap.
And it all starts with what he calls desire.
But not just, I sort of want this.
No, he's very specific, a burning desire. And he uses this incredible story to illustrate it, the story of Edwin C. Barnes. I love this story. It's just so wild.
Barnes is a fascinating case study. He had basically nothing going for him except this one idea.
So picture this. Barnes has this consuming obsession. He wants to work with Thomas Edison, not just for him. He wants to be his business partner.
A huge goal.
Huge. But he has 2 massive problems. 1, he doesn't know Edison from a hole in the wall. And 2, he is flat broke. He doesn't even have money for a train ticket to New Jersey.
Right. And this is where most of us, 99% of us, would just stop. We'd say, well, the conditions aren't right. I'll wait.
Exactly. We rationalize the delay. But Barnes, he hops a freight train. He travels by blind baggage, as they called it, shows up at Edison's laboratory looking like a hobo, a tramp, I think is the word Hill uses.
And Edison himself commented on it. He said the guy looked like a tramp, but there was something in his face, an expression that just screamed, I'm here to get what I came for. And Edison gave him a job.
But not the partnership.
Oh, no. A menial job? Yeah. Sweeping floors, something like that, because he saw that determination.
And Barnes took it. But, and this is the key part, in his own mind, he didn't see himself as a floor sweeper.
Not for a second. In his mind, he was already Edison's partner. He was just biding his time.
And this is where it gets a little scary, I think, for a modern listener. He burned his bridges.
That's a critical concept in the book, this idea of cutting off all sources of retreat. Hill uses that great analogy of the warrior who lands on enemy shores and immediately burns his own ships.
Terrifying.
He tells his men, we win or we perish. There's no going back. We all love our safety nets, our plan Bs. Hill says those are exactly what kill that burning desire.
And eventually the opportunity came, but it came in a really weird disguise.
It almost always does, right? Hill says opportunity is sly. It slips in the back door, often disguised as misfortune or temporary defeat.
Well, in this case, Edison invented a new dictating machine. But his sales team, they hated it. They thought it was a dud that it would never sell.
And Barnes, the guy sweeping the floors, sees this unwanted machine and just thinks.
That's it. I can sell that.
Because he was obsessed. He saw the opening nobody else did. He got the contract, and he sold the absolute hell out of that thing. It launched a 30-year business alliance.
Made by Edison and installed by Barnes, he made millions.
Transmuted desire into reality.
But Hill doesn't just give us stories. He gives us a very specific 6-step method. And I want to run through these because they're surprisingly practical.
It's a protocol. It's not just hope for money.
Okay, step 1. Fix the exact amount of money in your mind. You can't just say, I want plenty of money.
Your subconscious needs precision. It's like a GPS. You can't just type in somewhere nice. You need the coordinates.
Step 2. Determine exactly what you will give in return. No such thing as something for nothing.
That's the reality check. You have to provide value.
Step 3. A definite date, a deadline. Step 4. Create a definite plan and start immediately, ready or not.
That ready or not part is so crucial. People wait for the perfect time, which, it never comes.
Never. Okay, step 5. Write it all down. And step 6, this is the one that gets a little weird for people. Read that statement aloud twice a day. But as you read it, you have to see and feel yourself already owning the money.
And this is where people get uncomfortable. Talking to yourself in the mirror. It feels foolish.
It really does.
So this is autosuggestion. It's central to the whole book. You have to mix emotion with the words. If you just mumble it like a grocery list, it's useless. You have to almost trick your subconscious into believing it's already a done deal.
So you're basically hacking your own operating system.
Precisely. The subconscious mind, Hill argues, can't tell the difference between a real experience and one that's just vividly imagined with feeling. Once it accepts the idea, it starts driving your behavior, making you notice things you would have missed.
But before we get too deep there, we have to talk about what happens when things go wrong. Because Barnes is the success story, but Hill tells another story about quitting, that is. It's just painful. The story of R.U. Darby.
Oh, this one hurts to even talk about. It's a classic gold rush tragedy.
So Darby's uncle gets gold fever. They go west, stake a claim, and they actually find gold. Like, this isn't a fantasy. They find the ore.
They hit the vein.
Exactly. They get investors, buy machinery, they start drilling. The first car of ore they ship off, it's rich. They're already thinking, we're going to be millionaires.
They're mentally spending the money.
And then, poof, the vein disappears.
Just gone. Vanished.
They drill, they dig, they get desperate, and finally they just give up. They sell all this expensive machinery to a junk man for a few $100 and take the train home.
And this is where the story turns. The junk man, he wasn't dumb. He called a mining engineer.
And the engineer looks at the mine and says, oh, these guys just didn't understand fault lines. He does some calculations and figures out the vein should pick up again just 3 feet from where they stopped drilling.
3 feet.
3 feet from gold. The junk man made millions.
It's just devastating. But the takeaway is how Darby responded. He later became this phenomenal insurance salesman, and his whole mantra was, I stopped 3 feet from gold, but I will never again stop just because people say no when I ask them to buy insurance.
He learned the lesson of persistence, which Hill gives another little anecdote about that I love. It's Darby again, but he's watching a fight over 50 cents.
The sharecropper's daughter. This is such a powerful little scene.
So Darby's at his uncle's mill, and this little girl walks in. The uncle barks at her, what do you want? And she just says, my mama say send her 50 cents. The uncle says no. She says, yes, sir, but she doesn't move an inch.
And you have to remember the context. This is the early 20th century. A young black child defying a white adult male. I mean, the danger was real.
Oh, absolutely. The uncle threatens her. He even picks up a piece of wood, a barrel stave to beat her with. And the girl just steps forward, looks him dead in the eye, and screams, my mama's got to have that 50 cents.
And the uncle just freezes.
He drops the wood, reaches in his pocket, and gives her the money. Hill says it was the power of sheer persistence, completely disarming a superior force.
Which is the perfect segue into the next big idea, faith.
Yeah.
Because that child had absolute faith she was getting that money. She didn't hope for it. She knew it.
So let's talk about faith. Hill calls it the head chemist of the mind. What does he even mean by that?
He's using it as a psychological term, not a religious one. Faith, for him, is a state of mind that you induce through autosuggestion. Think of your mind as a fertile garden.
Okay, the garden analogy.
The garden doesn't care what you plant. If you plant corn, you get corn. If you plant poison nightshade, you get poison. Your subconscious mind is the same way. If you feed it fear and doubt and poverty, that's what it will grow for you.
So if you're walking around all day saying, I'm never going to get ahead, the economy's rigged, you are, in a very real sense, praying for failure.
You're giving the head chemist a negative formula, and the chemist just says, okay, here you go.
He gives a huge example of positive faith in action with the formation of United States Steel.
Yeah, the world's first billion-dollar corporation.
And it all started with a speech. Charles M. Schwab is at this dinner in 1900. J.P. Morgan is there. And Schwab gives the speech painting a vision of a giant steel empire.
What's so amazing is that Hill points out all the physical assets, the mills, the mines, the machinery, they already existed. They were just scattered and competing. It took Schwab's idea and his faith in that idea to convince Morgan to create this massive entity.
The idea itself was valued at a profit of $600 million. A fortune literally created from a thought mixed with faith.
Which brings it all back to the listener. Reading your desire statement without emotion is useless. You have to mix feeling with the words to get it into the subconscious.
So we have desire, persistence, faith. Now we need specialized knowledge. And this is where Hill sort of redefines what it means to be smart.
Totally. He says we misunderstand the word educate. It comes from the Latin educo, which means to draw out from within. It's not about stuffing your head full of facts.
The story of Henry Ford in court is the perfect example of this.
It's the best. So a newspaper called Ford an ignorant pacifist. He sues them. And in court, their lawyers try to prove he's ignorant by asking him all this trivia. Who was Benedict Arnold? How many soldiers did the British send over?
Just a total trap.
And Ford finally gets fed up. He points at the lawyer and says something like, "Why should I clutter my mind with trivia when I have a row of push buttons on my desk? If I need an answer, I push a button and summon an expert who can give it to me."
Such a mic drop moment. I don't need to know the answer. I just need to know the person who knows the answer.
And it floored the court. Because that's the answer of a truly educated man. He knows how to organize knowledge.
Which connects so perfectly to today. Right, we all have those electric push buttons. It's called Google. It's AI.
Exactly. The knowledge is cheap. The ability to organize it into a plan, that's where the value is.
Which leads right into the mastermind. You don't need to know everything. You just need a group of people around you who have the pieces you lack.
That's the alliance. Hill says no single person has enough experience, education, and ability to accumulate a great fortune without the cooperation of other people. It's impossible.
So that brings us to the workshop of the mind, imagination, and specifically organized planning.
And he uses that great story of the enchanted kettle. This is basically the origin story of Coca-Cola.
Get this. An old country doctor sells a kettle, a wooden paddle, and a slip of paper with a secret formula on it to a drug clerk named Asa Candler for $500.
Which was Candler's entire life savings. A huge risk. But Hill says he didn't just buy a kettle and a formula. He bought an idea.
Right. The ingredients were cheap. What Candler added was imagination, the marketing, the vision. He turned that enchanted kettle into a global empire by mixing the ingredients with a plan.
Speaking of plans, Hill gets very practical here. He gives a formula for how to market your services. He calls it QQS.
Quality, quantity, and spirit.
Yes. And everyone gets the first two, but they miss the third.
Let's break it down. Quality is doing your best work. Quantity is the habit of doing more than you're paid for. But spirit, that's the interesting one.
That's the agreeable harmony part. You can do great work and do a lot of it, but if your spirit is negative, if you're difficult, if you're greedy, you will fail. Hill lists the top causes of failure in leadership, and selfishness is right near the top.
He talks about a shift from the go-getter to the go-giver, which is wild because this was written in the 1930s, but it sounds so modern.
So prescient.
Yeah.
He saw that force-based leadership was doomed. Real leadership is about cooperation and service.
Okay, so let's synthesize all this for the person listening right now, the learner. Maybe they're stuck in a job or they want to scale a side hustle. We've covered a ton of ground.
We have. Let's just run through the journey again. It starts with a burning desire, like Barnes. Then persistence. Don't stop 3 feet from gold. Then faith and autosuggestion to program your mind. Then you acquire specialized knowledge, usually through a mastermind group. And finally, you execute with organized planning and the QQS formula.
So if I'm that listener, what do I do tomorrow morning?
You stop waiting for a break. Hill says you create your own breaks. Instead of just asking for a job, you show up with a definite plan of service that solves their problems. You use your imagination to show them how much value you can bring.
You don't start at the bottom if you can help it. You start where your plan puts you.
Exactly. You take control. You realize that thoughts are things isn't just a slogan. It's a methodology.
It kind of removes the excuse of, oh, I don't have the education or I don't have the capital.
Precisely. Barnes didn't have capital. Ford didn't have formal education. They had the formula.
That is a powerful place to land. It puts the ball completely in our court.
It does. And I'd leave the listener with one final thought from the text to just mull over.
Yeah.
We often think success is this slow, grinding, linear thing.
Right, the hustle and grind.
But Hill observed something else in those 500 titans. He wrote, riches, when they come so quickly and in such great abundance that one wonders where they have been hiding during all those lean years.
Wow. Where have they been hiding?
The limitations are only those we set up in our own minds. Once you clear those out and apply these principles, the floodgates open.
I love that. The only limitations are those we set up in our own minds. A perfect thought to end on. Thanks for this deep dive.
My pleasure.
We'll catch you on the next one.